Hello, Washington Commanders fans. I have three absolutely crucial pieces of news. The first brings a possibility that Dan Quinn hinted at regarding next season, which could be a complete disaster if it happens. And you need to understand why this would be a gigantic mistake. The second highlights three young players who shined against the Broncos and should excite all of us for the future, proving that not everything is lost. And the third reveals why Quinn is so proud of Marcus Mariota, even after the loss, and what that means for the locker room. And, of course, don't forget to leave a like. It's just one click, and it helps me a lot. Let's start with the most concerning news involving a possible decision from Dan Quinn that could be costly. The Washington Commanders hold a depressing record of 3 wins and 9 losses this season after an extremely tough overtime game against the Denver Broncos on Sunday Night Football. Many fans had completely given up on the team after a historically bad losing streak, but it seems they have made a bit of a turnaround in the last 2 games, showing more grit. Still, the team will undergo many necessary changes this offseason, both in the coaching staff and the player roster. Coach Dan Quinn made the late decision to personally take on the role of defensive coordinator, taking it away from Joe Whitt Jr., and there is a concerning possibility that he may remain in that position next season as well, which would be a mistake. The defense has improved drastically over the last 2 games since Quinn took direct command, and the last 5 games of the season could give us a preview of what to expect next season as well. Quinn was directly asked about the possibility of remaining as defensive coordinator and calling the plays next season, and it's something he has seriously considered. He said he thinks that, yes, there is a real possibility. And as they advance, he's finding his rhythm, so he's not yet sure how he feels about it. He hasn't discussed or delved deeply into this matter with management, but he would say it's a concrete possibility. Without a doubt, we've seen a completely different defense in the last 2 weeks, especially considering the smart shift from man coverage to zone coverage. The defense is much better prepared to play zone, and this was a great change implemented by Quinn that worked immediately. But is that really enough to justify his permanent appointment as defensive coordinator? It's a decision that could end in complete disaster for several reasons. Only a few coaches in the entire league take on the role of coordinator or play caller on one side of the ball, and it takes a lot to do that well. The team is not in the best position for Quinn to do this, and he should hire a real defensive coordinator for several important reasons. The first reason is that if the defense performs poorly again next year, there will be absolutely no one to blame but Quinn himself, and his position as head coach will be seriously threatened. You can't just hire someone or make a change when you're the person in the spotlight under all the pressure. Having someone else lead the defense allows Quinn to return to his normal routine as head coach, focusing on the big picture. It's much easier to fire someone from the coaching staff than to look back and wish you had hired someone when it's already too late. The second important reason is that Quinn would likely keep Joe Whitt Jr. on the coaching staff. And honestly, the team urgently needs a fresh face and a completely different scheme. A high-level candidate for defensive coordinator coming from outside could elevate this team to a new level that we have not been able to reach. Quinn's retention as defensive coordinator seems like a very safe and conservative decision that won't bring about significant real changes, and this team needs to be much more aggressive moving forward, just like it was when hiring Cliff Kingsbury. We need someone with new ideas and fresh energy who can completely transform this defense that has been a disgrace all season long. Keeping everything as it is would be wasting a golden opportunity to make meaningful changes. Now let's move on to the second piece of news that at least brings some real hope about the future. The Washington Commanders suffered an absolutely painful home loss to the Denver Broncos, but many positive points were highlighted with the team finally showing true grit and a will to win. First, we saw Terry McLaurin return to playing at a high level and making the big, spectacular plays when the team needed him most in crucial moments. We also saw several young players shine and show that they are a bright spot on the roster, and we fans can genuinely get excited about what's to come in the future. From spectacular receptions to an unexpected performance against one of the best defenses in the entire NFL, 3 specific young players had standout performances against the Broncos that deserve recognition. The first is wide receiver Treylon Burks, who didn't have the most impressive numbers of the night, but made an absolutely spectacular catch that turned heads across the league, and even received praise from Odell Beckham Jr. himself on social media. The Commanders knew he was capable of incredible plays with his impressive athletic ability, and his one-handed catch showcased his true potential as a player. The receiving group had been suffering tremendously with many injuries throughout the season, and the Commanders decided to bring in Burks to see if a change of scenery would help the former first-round pick by the Titans. McLaurin will obviously be back next season, but the Commanders still need to add more offensive players for Jaden Daniels, and Burks becoming a real threat would be a major win for Adam Peters and the entire roster. If he can maintain this level of play in the coming weeks, he could secure a contract for next year. The second young talent is right tackle Josh Conerly Jr., who had a rough start to the season but found his rhythm. The beginning wasn't great for rookie Josh Conerly Jr., but the initial pressure proved to be exactly what he needed to find his true game rhythm. Conerly Jr. has become an extremely reliable right tackle beside Laremy Tunsil, and is coming off his best stretch of games, not allowing a single sack in 4 consecutive weeks. He had an absolutely flawless performance against one of the best pressure units in the NFL, with 0 pressures allowed and the highest number of pass protection snaps among all offensive tackles for the entire week. There was a lot of heavy criticism regarding Conerly Jr.'s selection in the first round of the draft, even more so after a poor start, but he just needed time to adapt and seems to be worth the investment as a key piece of the long-term offense. The third young talent is linebacker Jordan Magee, who is another player that has been making positive strides in the right direction each week, which was absolutely necessary for the defense. Magee finished as the Commanders' highest graded defender on PFF, and the tape clearly backs that up. We saw Magee flying across the field against the Miami Dolphins, and he did it again this week against the Broncos. Magee logged 24 snaps, which is in line with the average from the past few weeks, but he had his best game with 6 tackles, a season record, and 5 solo tackles, which was the team's highest number on defense against the run. If Magee can stand out in these last 5 remaining weeks and show that he can be a reliable starter next season, it would greatly help with the roster construction Peters needs to continue this offseason. They could still add a quality linebacker to share the snaps with Magee and Frankie Luvu, but it won't be as urgent as it currently seems. We genuinely hope that the younger core of the team continues to develop, while the Commanders seek wins and finish the season on a high note. There will be many significant changes this offseason, and the more young players the coaching staff can rely on, the better it will be for everyone. And now we arrive at the third news item about Marcus Mariota and why Quinn is so proud of him. Washington Commanders quarterback Marcus Mariota has shown himself to be absolutely brave in his role substituting for Jaden Daniels while he recovers from a series of injuries throughout the season. Mariota has won only 1 of the 6 games he has started this season, which is frustrating, but Commanders head coach Dan Quinn is impressed with what the veteran has managed to do considering the circumstances. Quinn said he already knew Mariota's leadership, but when the moment came and the team was ready to do that, it was exactly what he saw on the field. He thought the play was executed well with accurate passes and using both his arm and legs to advance. He felt it worked well, but in some crucial moments, with absolutely perfect passes, it was a true Warrior performance as a quarterback. Sometimes, those are the moments when you need to stand firm and withstand all the pressure. He already knew who the leader was, but that completely solidified his opinion. It was an absolutely incredible performance, as if he had taken full responsibility and found a way to almost win. Mariota completed 28 of 50 passes for 294 yards and 2 touchdowns, including 1 in overtime to wide receiver Terry McLaurin. The Commanders would have won the game if the 2-point conversion attempt had been successful, but Denver Broncos linebacker Nick Bonito deflected the pass that likely would have resulted in the well-deserved victory. Mariota said he loved the decision and thinks there were no doubts in their minds, appreciates Quinn's confidence, but it was a shame they couldn't convert that final play. So, the final question I leave for you to ponder deeply is, considering that Dan Quinn might stay as defensive coordinator next season, what could potentially be a mistake since we have 3 promising young talents developing well, and Marcus Mariota has shown leadership even while losing, do you believe Quinn should risk his position as head coach by also taking on the defensive coordination permanently? Or would it be wiser to hire a high-level defensive coordinator from outside the organization to bring in new ideas and fresh energy to finally fix this horrible defense we have?